Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be doing a video and it's going to be on a different topic on it's going to be about spell work, but it's going to be the reasons why you should always get a reading before you do any type of spell work slash divination work. Okay? And why it's always important to do that, and I'm going to explain why. So if you guys haven't already seen my love spell story time video, go check that out. I actually made 2 story times, and my second video I talked about why it was important to get a reading, especially with love work. And I was just laughing because that's the video people known me for, and years even after on TikTok or even other on YouTube, people were like, "Hey, aren't you that guy that did that love spell on your ex?" I'm like, "Yeah, yes I am. Yes. But but I did not even get a reading. I did the spell impulsively the first time and it worked. But boy, was it crazy. So I'm going to tell you, as a professional practitioner years later, I started getting into the craft. I started doing workings for many different people. I do all kinds of workings. If you guys want to hit me up on Instagram, you guys are interested, hit me up or comment down here, and we could definitely, I could do you anything. I do love spells, health spells, protection spells. I even do banishing work, aka baneful magic, which is known as darker magic, but that also requires a reading. I usually do a reading before I do that to make sure that it's justifiable. And we're going to be talking basically on why you guys should always get a reading before you do spell work, especially love spells. Now, I always like to compare the analogy to going to the doctors. Let's say you don't feel good and you want, to get information, you want to know what's going on, you go to the doctor. And depending on what the doctor says, depending on what they diagnosis, the test they give you, they're going to figure out what's wrong with you and give you the proper treatment slash medication and care. Wink, wink, right? Sometimes they mess up like a practitioners, but you know what I mean. It's always best to go to someone who's a professional, but who will give you, an assessment first before they give you before finding out what's going on and giving you the proper treatment. That's how I compare readings. A reading is like an assessment, and we're like the doctor, and you come to us to get a spiritual assessment to see what's going on and to see whether your situation, warrants a spell, or depending on the type of spell. Because sometimes, not every work situation requires you even do a spell. Sometimes it may just be something very simple. It doesn't have to be anything crazy or big. All right, so we're going to be talking about we're going to say 4 reasons why you shouldn't just do a spell without getting a reading, right? Now, the first reason is because you just want to know, what you do right before you do it. So the first reason, especially when it comes to like love working, is you want to see, is there a third party, right? You just don't want to do a spell to see and just do it, and then there could be an outside influence. Also, you want to check how this person feels about you. Do they love you? Do they not love you? If they don't love you, a spell won't work. Number 2, you want to see, what is the root of the problem? Is it worth doing a spell? Because sometimes, like I said, sometimes you don't need a love spell. Sometimes you just need to heal, or sometimes you might need to do something else. And number 3, to see, is it worth investing in, right? So a practitioner will usually conduct a reading to see, okay, what's going on? What is the best recommendation for your situation, because again, not every single situation requires a spell, and it may not require you to do anything that you might have in mind. Sometimes it may be something different. Sometimes you might need, a few workings. Sometimes you might not need to do anything. Sometimes you might only need to do one spell. Now, that's a reason. The fourth reason is also, who is this person you're doing work on? Is it, like I said, is it somebody that could also be spiritually inclined? Are they protected? Who are their ancestors, and is it justifiable? Is it for your highest good to do this type of work? Because like I said, just because you cast a spell doesn't mean it's going to always work. And sometimes, there's a lot of reasons why a spell may not always manifest the way we want, is simply because it could even have to do a lot with your belief, your faith, right? Do you believe that it could work? Do you believe in the practitioner? Do you believe that what you manifest can become your reality? There's other factors too. The person could also be spiritually inclined. They could have some type of, spiritual protection. Are they connected to God? Are they also spiritual? Because if they're spiritual, it's going to be harder to do certain workings. And is this person serve your highest good? Because sometimes, the practitioner could do the work, but it may not always be for your highest good. It may not be this person that you want, may not be the person that's meant to be in your life, right? And sometimes the divine won't just let it be. Sometimes source, God, the universe will not allow this to manifest because it's not for your highest good. And you really don't know somebody's intentions. That's why it's important to get a reading, because you don't really know what's going on. A lot of times you might just be thinking, oh, I want this specific outcome. I want this specific person. But you're not seeing what's happening in the background. What is going on that you're not seeing in the spiritual realm? Okay? Another reason too is also the work of the practitioner. You want to make sure that this practitioner knows what they're doing, that they have experience, and also the energy of a practitioner could also affect it as well. Make sure when you do spell work that you're in a good energy, depending on the type of spell, that you cleanse, that you're in a good energy, and that the client is also in a good energy, because your energies could affect the working as well. So there's a lot of factors. But the reasons why, again, you should always get a reading before you do any type of spell work is to see, is it worth investing in? Because again, you might think you want a hex on somebody, but spirit might be like, no, you might need to just let this go, or spirit will take care of it, or spirit will be like, you know what, you don't have to do that. Or if it's justifiable, then different. Or if you want to do a love spell on somebody, the reason why I'm talking about love spells is because that's the main thing that a lot of people always want, right? They want love. They want, they want their ex to come back. They want this person to be obsessed with them, to love them. But you have to also be practical as well, right? There has to also be some logic in the casting, and not just illusions. And the logic is to get a reading to see what is the best outcome for your situation, because not every situation warrants a love spell, and not every single spell you do is going to always work the first time. Sometimes you might have to do other spell workings, and that's why you get a reading. Would you go to a doctor and just go there and be like, hey, give me this medicine because this is how I feel? The doctor might do a diagnosis, a test on you, and they might find out, well, you need this medication. This one is better for you, not this one. So it only makes sense. So that's the reasons. I'll talk about more reasons why certain spells, I'll go into that more. I did kind of talk about a little bit why certain spells may not really work. But this is the reasons why you should always get a reading. The main reasons what I did this video on. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. It's gonna be a short video, but if you guys are interested, comment down below if you want to see more videos like this. If you guys have questions, I can make a video as well. And yeah, all right, guys, bye.